I'm your host, Godwin Raffel, and you are watching Ocean Today X. Imagine staring out the window of a plane thousands of feet above the ocean. The sky is perfectly clear, the sun shimmers across the turquoise waters below, and everything feels calm. But then, your pilot's voice breaks the silence. His instruments aren't working, the compass needle is spinning in circles. Radar is blank, and before you realize what's happening, you've just crossed into one of the most mysterious and feared regions on Earth, the Bermuda Triangle. Stretching over 500,000 square miles of open sea, the Bermuda Triangle forms a rough triangle between Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda. On a map, it looks harmless, just another part of the Atlantic Ocean. But this patch of water is anything but ordinary. For centuries, sailors and pilots alike have whispered about the triangle, calling it a graveyard of ships and planes. Here's why. Within this zone, strange and terrifying things happen with alarming frequency. Planes have vanished without a distress signal. Ships have disappeared without leaving a single piece of wreckage. Even advanced military craft, with the latest technology of their time, have gone missing as though swallowed whole by the sea. And it's not just stories from the past. Even in modern times, decades into the age of satellites and GPS, the triangle continues to raise eyebrows. Some scientists dismiss the tales as coincidence, blaming storms or human error. But what makes this region so chilling is that many of these vanishings occur under perfect weather conditions. No lightning, no hurricane, no sign of trouble, just silence, then nothing. To give you perspective, imagine the size. The Bermuda Triangle is nearly twice the size of Texas. Within this vast area, countless routes are flown and sailed daily. But unlike other oceans, this zone is infamous for what feels like unnatural danger. Pilots claim their instruments fail. Captains report seeing waves rise like walls, then vanish. And those lucky enough to escape often describe the experience as if reality itself broke. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle has grown because no matter how much technology advances, the same terrifying question remains. Why do so many planes and ships disappear here without a trace? And this is just the beginning, because the most infamous disappearance of all was about to etch the Bermuda Triangle into history forever. If there is one story that forever branded the Bermuda Triangle as a place of terror, it is the chilling disappearance of Flight 19. On December 5, 1945, just months after World War II ended, 5 powerful US Navy Avenger torpedo bombers lifted off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for what was supposed to be a routine training mission. Each plane was packed with fuel, equipment, and skilled pilots, men who had survived combat in the war. The skies were clear, the sea was calm, nothing suggested the horror about to unfold. But within hours, radio operators began receiving frantic messages. The lead pilot, Lieutenant Anthony Rogers, reported that his compass had gone haywire. His exact words were chilling. "We can't find west. Everything looks wrong. The ocean doesn't look right." Imagine the fear in those cockpits. These weren't rookie pilots. They were trained professionals who had flown under fire. Yet they were disoriented, confused, and lost in conditions that should have been perfect for navigation. Their last transmissions became more desperate. "We can't tell where we are. Everything is strange. We don't know which way to go." The Navy scrambled to send out a rescue plane with 13 men on board. But that aircraft also vanished without a trace. No wreckage, no survivors, nothing. In a single day, 6 aircraft and 27 men were swallowed by the Bermuda Triangle. The aftermath only deepened the mystery. An extensive search combed the seas for weeks. Ships and planes scoured every corner of the Atlantic, expecting to find debris, oil slicks, anything. But the ocean gave back nothing. It was as if the aircraft had dissolved into thin air. To this day, the disappearance of Flight 19 remains one of aviation's greatest unsolved mysteries. Some blame human error, arguing that Taylor became confused and led his men in the wrong direction. Others suggest equipment failure, sudden storms, or even methane eruptions from the seafloor. But none of these explanations fully account for why no wreckage has ever been found. The legend of Flight 19 transformed the Bermuda Triangle from sailors' folklore into a global obsession. Newspapers around the world ran with headlines about the Devil's Triangle, cementing its reputation as a place where even the best-trained men and the most advanced machines could vanish in broad daylight. And the truth is, Flight 19 was only the beginning. For decades afterward, more planes would follow and vanish. The Bermuda Triangle is not officially marked on any map, yet every pilot knows where it lies, and most would rather not fly directly through it. But why, in an age of modern aviation and GPS technology, does this region still carry so much fear? First, there's the issue of magnetic anomalies. Normally, compasses point to magnetic north, but inside the triangle, pilots have reported their compasses pointing to true north instead. This subtle shift, barely noticeable to passengers, can completely throw off a pilot's navigation, especially in the days before GPS. Imagine flying over endless ocean, trusting your instruments, only to realize they've been lying to you. One wrong calculation, and you're hundreds of miles off course with no land in sight. Second, the triangle is a breeding ground for violent, unpredictable storms. Meteorologists call them microbursts, sudden downdrafts that slam aircraft from above, sometimes with hurricane-level force. These storms can appear out of nowhere, turning a peaceful sky into chaos in seconds. For a pilot flying a passenger jet, there is no warning. One moment clear skies, the next total whiteout. Then there are the rogue waves. Towering walls of water up to 100 feet high have been recorded in this region. If they can swallow massive cargo ships, what chance does a small rescue plane have? But even today, with satellites tracking weather patterns and planes loaded with advanced technology, something still feels off about the triangle. Some pilots have claimed they experienced time warps, sudden moments where their clocks, instruments, and even the sky itself behaved strangely. One pilot reported flying through a strange tunnel-like cloud, only to exit and find he had traveled 100 miles in minutes, using barely any fuel. These stories spread fast in aviation circles. Whether pilots believe in the supernatural or not, they know one thing: the Bermuda Triangle is a place where the rules of flying don't always apply. And in an industry where safety is everything, most airlines would rather reroute their planes a few hundred miles than risk becoming the next headline. It isn't superstition, it's survival. And every empty patch of ocean reminds pilots of the countless planes that went in and never came out. For decades, scientists have tried to explain away the Bermuda Triangle. After all, science demands answers, and the idea of a cursed ocean doesn't sit well with logic. But every explanation seems to raise more questions than it solves. One theory blames methane hydrates buried deep beneath the seafloor. If large pockets of methane gas suddenly erupted, they could reduce water density, causing ships to sink instantly. The bubbles could even rise into the atmosphere, stalling airplane engines mid-flight. But skeptics argue, if that's true, why don't we find wreckage on the seafloor? Why are entire planes missing, down to the last bolt? Another explanation is extreme weather. The Atlantic Ocean is notorious for sudden hurricanes and violent squalls. Yet critics point out that many disappearances happened on calm, cloudless days. How can a clear blue sky erase 5 Navy bombers without leaving debris? Then there's the magnetic field theory. The Earth's magnetic field isn't uniform, and the triangle happens to lie near one of the few places where true north and magnetic north align. Could this explain navigational errors? Possibly, but again it doesn't explain why distress calls often describe bizarre sights, strange lights, glowing clouds, or compasses spinning in circles. And here's where things turn truly strange. Conspiracy theories. Some claim the triangle hides an ancient power source from the lost city of Atlantis. Others suggest it's a testing ground for secret military technology, cloaking devices, or even alien bases under the sea. Outlandish, absolutely. But consider this: the Bermuda Triangle is one of the most heavily searched and traveled regions on Earth, and yet we still have no concrete evidence for dozens of vanishings. In an era where satellites can zoom in on a car from space, the ocean floor beneath the triangle remains largely unmapped, dark and silent. Science insists there must be rational explanations, but mystery thrives in the gaps science cannot yet fill, and the Bermuda Triangle sits precisely in that gap, a place where data collides with legend and where each disappearance deepens the world's fascination. Today, commercial planes and ships continue to pass near the Bermuda Triangle. Thousands of flights travel between Miami, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda every year without incident. To skeptics, this proves the triangle is nothing more than myth, a sensational story blown out of proportion. But ask the pilots and sailors who've skirted its edges, and you'll hear something different. Many describe a palpable tension when crossing into the region. Pilots double-check their instruments, crews stay alert. There's an unspoken understanding that while most pass safely, the triangle has earned its reputation for a reason. Even modern cases keep the legend alive. In 2017, a small twin-engine plane with 4 people on board vanished off the coast of the Bahamas while flying through the triangle. The Coast Guard searched over 8,000 square miles of ocean. Not a single piece of wreckage was ever found. Sound familiar? And so the mystery endures. To some, the Bermuda Triangle is a symbol of nature's raw, unpredictable power. To others, it's proof that there are forces, whether scientific or supernatural, that humanity has yet to understand. But perhaps the greatest power of the Bermuda Triangle is psychological. It taps into our deepest fears. The fear of the unknown, the fear of being lost, and the fear that even with all our technology, we are still not in control. That's why books, documentaries, and movies continue to be made about it. That's why the name alone sends a chill down the spine, and that's why pilots, practical, no-nonsense professionals, still choose to give this patch of ocean a wide berth whenever possible. The Bermuda Triangle may not claim victims every day, but its shadow looms large. Each new flight across its waters is a gamble between routine and legend. And as long as planes continue to vanish without explanation, the fear will never truly die. So why don't planes fly over the Bermuda Triangle? The truth is, they still do, every day. But the stories of those who never came back have left a scar so deep that no pilot crosses without caution. The Bermuda Triangle is not just a place on the map, it's a living mystery. A reminder that even in an age of satellites, AI, and space travel, there are still corners of our world that refuse to be tamed. Perhaps one day, science will uncover the final truth behind the triangle. Or perhaps, like all great mysteries, it will always remain just beyond our reach.